And after this, I'm going for drinks at the Winchester. No, 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 it's Brian. It's Brian. Hey, this is our last Lane's Logs. Can you believe it? We're already at the conclusion of our summer journey tracking the zombie as a rhetorical figure. I wanted to go ahead and get the Lane's Logs up this week because the schedule changes slightly, and I want to mention that at the start. There is no more Saturday. I know everything we've had, usually we have the final assignments due on a Saturday when we're closing things down, but there's no more Saturdays. We're out of Saturdays. We only have the rest of this week left. So just be advised that this week there is a blog assignment that I'm going to talk about in just a second to finish up on Monday. And one last blog for Module 5 is a little bit different, but it's due on Friday of this week. You also need to reply to 2 people in the discussion thread for Module 5, also on Friday of this week, and then there's a short quiz. So the first thing I want to make you aware of is the schedule changes up just a little bit as we are closing out the semester for things. Now, I've got 5 topics that I want to talk about really, really briefly. The first of those is an extra credit opportunity. There's a link right below this video that links to the student perceptions on teaching, the spot scores to get evaluation. Now, we asked during the midterm, hey, how could we make things better? We got some feedback. As a result of that, this Module 5 is actually drastically different than it was at the start of the semester, but we do want to continue getting feedback. In fact, a lot of the things in the course that people have noted that they like, the blogs, the videos, those are the result of feedback that we've gotten. So please help us continue to improve the course. We want it to be the best experience that it possibly can. Take the time to fill that out. And if 80% of the class fills out the spot scores, the spot evaluations, then everybody gets extra credit. So it's an across the board, everybody gets extra credit if 80% of the folks do it. So that's the second thing, all right? First thing that we wanted to talk about on that was the extra credit opportunities. Now, last week we got an opportunity to talk about The Walking Dead. And I know that for many of you, it was your first time interacting with that. And I want to say your discussions on the family were just awesome. I love the way that you took so much different stuff and just digested it. See what I did there? And made it into really, really productive discussion posts talking about the family and all these different family units for things. Really, really interesting. You know, as we've been moving through this semester, we've been increasingly applying theory and readings into our discussion of the zombie as a rhetorical figure. And that continues with the blog post that is due this Monday night, the one that is due right coming up. It is about threats, and it is a beginning of an attempt to turn back just a little bit and see how can we use any of this zombie philosophy that we've got going on, any of the stuff that we're getting insights from our readings, how can we use that for things that are going on in the real world that are facing us? We've been following this hypothetical scenario, and now we're starting to pull the veil back just a little bit. There are a couple interesting videos. You might note that when the coronavirus first came out last year in March, people used zombies as a metaphor to try and make people understand. What an interesting thing, like as far as rhetorical figure, people knew zombies. They didn't know what coronavirus was. They tried to use analogy there to make people understand exactly what was going on. So the question for this blog is, just do what you can with that and try and think of what other things can we understand through our travels through the popular culture tracking of the zombie figure that's going on. Now, this week coming up, we're into our last module, the romantic comic zombie. Can you believe it? Or the zombie, as some call it, or the rom-com zom, if you will. I mean, who wants to fall in love with a zombie? Well, it turns out a bunch of people do, and there's all kinds of funny figures that go along with it. Now, the comedy zombie, actually, even though we're doing it near the end of our thing, it's not like it's just starting up. You may be more familiar with it, but one of the optional viewings in our first module was a film called King of the Zombies, starring the incredible Mantan Moreland, and that was a comic film. So comic zombie has been around really since the very start. It goes back a long, long way. The idea that we could make this figure into a comic figure. Some of our readings discuss how that uses some classical tropes from comedy. And then we've got Warm Bodies as a recent example of the romantic zombie, so just pushing new kinds of things. I'm very excited to hear what you'll think in the forums. Please do check out the forums. I've even asked a question of my own in those forums to see how things are going and how we are working on stuff. Now, there is also one last blog module. I'm not going to give any spoilers. Okay, I'm not going to give any spoilers. I'm going to wait until you can finish up and watch the video that I put together. But even though we're into this last module, this last blog is still important. It's an opportunity for self-reflection on this. So week by week by week, I've been offering you what I think the takeaways from all of this is or are, or I don't know, that all of these takeaways I've been offering. Now it's your turn. I want to hear what you think the takeaways on this zombie exploration are, and how it might be useful, because when it comes right down to it, zombies are real. I mean, they're really in movie theaters, they're really around us, they're in television, they're in video games, they're having an impact on our lives for things. So I'm excited to hear what you think about that. And that's it, zombie hunters. We are concluding this summer fiesta of tracking the zombie hunter as we're coming out of COVID and vaccinations are going on along. So let me know what you think in the reflection, and we will head out of this as strong as we can. Stay alive! Just 1 week left.